Welcome back to On the Timeline. I'm Emma Connelly.
And I'm Samantha Vassallo.
And this is the timeline on the 8 Passengers family drama.
Before we start, we just wanted to do a little bit of a disclaimer and a trigger warning of the mistreatment of children, because this is what that episode is about, and we just wanted to let you guys know before we started. Alright, so to start, I'm just going to give a really big overview about the family. Just so you guys know, this is my first time really hearing about any of this. I did not know that much about this topic, so I'm just going to do a big overview. I'm just going to give you more of an in-depth look, and you'll see my reaction firsthand, and you'll hopefully learn some more about this family drama. So, so to start, basically, Ruby and Kevin Frankie are a married couple. They live in Springville, Utah, and they have a YouTube page had a YouTube page called 8 Passengers, which was basically like a vlog of their life and about how they
they had six kids and like taking them in and out of private school, all kinds of stuff.
She knows more than I do. And they started their YouTube page in 2015, and they ended up accumulating around 2.5 million followers during their time, which is insane. But their YouTube channel has since then been taken down due to the recent allegations. And they were also a part of a podcast, I think, called Connections.
Yeah, I can explain more about that.
She'll explain more about that later. But yeah, that's basically just an overview of what their channel was and who these people were. But let's hear more about what the drama really is.
Okay, so with this family, as you said, they did have 6 kids. They lived in Springville, Utah. So the oldest daughter, her name is Sherry, and then they have a son, his name is Chad, and then 2 daughters who are about the same age, Abby and Julie, and then the 2 youngers are a son, Russell, and a daughter, Eve. So pretty spread out, because like Sherry's 20, and then Eve is 10. So they're very spread out in the age range, but they're pretty evenly spaced throughout that. Okay. So if you watch their vlogs, like you get to see part of having a college student and also an elementary school. So I think that's one thing that made the vlogs interesting, is that there's always something going on, because they all did different extracurricular activities and everything. Mm-hmm. But there was so much more than that going on. Around 2020 is when all the accusations really started to come to fruition. One of the biggest being that they sent their son Chad to a wilderness therapy camp, but as everybody knows, those are actually just horrible, like, torture. I mean, They send these children into the woods and they make them sleep on the ground. They don't give them any food. Like, it's terrible, and it's supposed to be therapy and help them. But what's even worse than the actual camp is the reason why he got sent there. Do you know?
No, but I know the camps that you're talking about. Like, I always see those TikTok videos of, like, people
Survivors
being like, and they're like, oh, like my mom hurt me because I woke up in the middle of the night and had like people taking me from my bed. Like, I always see that. I'm like,
that's what happened to him. But the reason why is because he pranked his little brother.
What?
And the prank was that he woke him up. He woke Russell up at 3 a.m. and said, "We're going to Disney World." And then he got all excited, all ready for Disney World. And then he told him, "Actually, JK, we're not going to Disney World."
That was it?
That was the reason why. Mm-hmm. He was making good grades. He was involved. He had good friends and everything. But he pranked his little brother and got sent to wilderness therapy camp.
Like, did the mom, like, admit this on, like, YouTube?
Chad did.
Chad? Who's Chad?
The son that got sent.
Okay.
He admitted it on YouTube.
Bro.
And then whenever he came back from camp, his parents didn't let him have a bed. So he had to sleep on his little brother's beanbag for, like, months after he got back from wilderness camp.
And this was also, like,
documented on the YouTube channel in their videos.
Jeez.
There's a clip of Chad holding the camera and saying it into the camera that when he got back from Anzazi, which is the name of the camp, he had to sleep on a beanbag at like 17 or 16 years old.
That is insane.
Crazy. And that's not like the worst thing.
That's not the worst?
When Eve was 6 years old, she went to this elementary school. This was before she pulled them all out of school. Because at one point, they were at a mix. Some of them were in public school. Some of them were in private school. Mm-hmm. And then she pulled them all out once she met Jodi and was homeschooling them. But while Eve was still at school, she was 6 years old and expected to pack all of her own lunch. Like, make the food, pack her lunch, everything. Well, she was 6, so she forgot sometimes. And one of the times she forgot, her teacher called Ruby and was like, "You need to bring Eve some lunch. She's really hungry." She said she didn't have breakfast. She was hungry. And she was like, Ruby said, "No, it was her responsibility to pack her lunch, so she needs to have the consequence of not eating." And refused to bring her any lunch. Her 6-year-old daughter.
Oh.
And so Sherry, the older sister, practically parented these children, but she had to go to college. And so she went away to college, and that's when everything really went downhill because she wasn't there parenting the children.
Yeah.
And that's whenever she met Jodi, who was supposed to be Chad's therapist after he got back from wilderness camp. And she's a very, very conservative Mormon therapist, like extremely, extremely conservative. So she ran the Connections group, and then eventually she and Ruby started Moms of Truth, which was like a TikTok style podcast, and the stuff they said on there was crazy. Yeah. They downplayed victims of different kinds of assaults, and they hated against the LGBTQ community and talked about the downfalls of their children. Like literally Abby had bad acne and Ruby was hating on her for that. But in addition to this, Jodi decided at some point that Kevin, the husband, couldn't live with them anymore. Couldn't live with the children anymore. And so Jodi moved in with him and kicked Kevin out to his own townhouse. Because he needed...
Kevin was just... Like, Kevin is fine with this, like, the entire time. He's, like, totally fine.
Yeah, there's, like...
With all this.
Ruby has 3 sisters. Okay. And her 3 sisters are all very active on YouTube. And they came out together as a group and said that for several years they had been pushing back with Ruby and Kevin and trying to get it all sorted out. And that they would like to make a statement that they think whatever has been happening has been wrong. And that they stand with the children and want what's best for the kids. Yeah. And they've really said everything about Ruby and nothing about Kevin. Yeah. And Ruby and Jodi were both charged with 6 counts of child abuse, but Kevin hasn't been charged with anything. Okay. And so Kevin and Sherry have been going, I guess, against each other. There's not really a lot out because the judge has decided to keep the results of the hearings private to protect the children. So there have been custody hearings and everything. Yeah. But what's suspected is that Kevin and Sherry are going against each other for custody of the kids. But all the fans are saying that they need to go to Bonnie, which is one of Ruby's sisters. So, like, their aunt. Okay. Because Bonnie has a couple kids of her own. But if you, like, look in the videos from years ago, 2015, 16, 17, when the kids are with Bonnie, they're happy, they're full of life, they're having a great time in her vlogs. But then in the vlogs with Ruby, they seem sad, they seem tired, and you can really tell a difference. So fans have been putting petitions out, and the day that Jodi and Ruby actually got arrested, Sherry posted on her Instagram story finally. Oh. And she requested that fans submit clips from YouTube that they had screen recorded of the abuse, submit it to the court case.
So it was like the cataclysm, like event, I guess you could say, that like kind of got them caught.
Exactly. Yeah. So Russell, who is the like younger son, so there's only 2 sons. Russell, who's the younger son, escaped from Jodi's house. Essentially, he was like emaciated, hadn't been eating, hadn't been drinking, and like went to a neighbor's house and essentially begged for help.
Oh my god.
And the neighbor is like a grown like man in his 40s. He's crying on the phone on the 911 call. Yeah. Like, he tells them, you know, there's been stuff happening with this family, with this house, and you haven't done anything, and this is the breaking point. Like, you have to do something now. Yeah. And that's the day that Jodi and Ruby both got arrested. Wow. And now they both have 6 counts of child abuse and are being held in prison without bond. They had a bond hearing, and it was decided that they did not have bond until after the custody was decided. But there was a custody hearing just like 2 days ago, and Sherry and Kevin and a couple of the other relatives were there, but the results haven't been publicized yet. Yeah. Like, the crazy thing is that there's like a rumor that one of her cellmates did an interview and told whoever it was that Ruby kept talking about Jodi over and over. It's all she cared about. Like, she wasn't worried about the kids, wasn't worried about Kevin, was just constantly talking about Jodi, because Ruby got put on a mental health watch and was put in a separate wing in the prison, and then Jodi got put on a heart health watch or diabetes something. She says she has some chronic condition that she needed help for, but there's rumors that her lawyer just made that up so she could get in a nicer wing of the hospital or in the like prison. And I know like there's a stigma that people who have hurt children are taken down in prison, you know, like you hear about that, like the people in prison that rob stores or whatever, they are not okay with people that hurt children. Okay, so the hearing I was talking about that we didn't really get any information out of, it got cut off, but at the beginning of it, when they were like giving the details and giving kind of like the prosecutions and everything, the witnesses were talking, there were over 1,000 people watching the live stream.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so once they actually got into talking about custody, they cut the live stream off. But kind of the intro and everything, there was 1,000 people watching the live stream. Like, that's the cap for Zoom. Yeah. So it was like a full Zoom.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
People want to know.
And so people were, like, filming their computers and put, like, live streaming on TikTok because so many people wanted to see. I saw a live stream that had, like, 80,000 viewers. Like, people are really interested in this. I mean, they had 2.5 million subscribers. And YouTube went as far as to go to their house, to the van, and remove, like, the, like, YouTube, like, platinum, gold, or whatever stickers from the back of the car because YouTube is that set on, like, disassociating from the family because they don't want to be part of it.
Yeah, and I guess just my wish is I wish the best for those kids. Like,
for sure.
Like, after hearing all that, like, just I hope that they, you know, find peace within themselves and find peace within the world because that's gotta suck. And
I hope they can get real therapy, not from Jodi.
Yeah, and I hope that they, you know, find people who genuinely do care and love for them the way that parents are supposed to. So that's my piece.
That was the timeline on the 8 Passengers family drama. For SGTV, I'm Emma Connelly.
And I'm Samantha Vassallo.